Sociologist Laurent Chambon, who also was listening in to that speech by Emmanuel Macron. Your thoughts on the tone of the French president speaking, again, as our correspondent just mentioned, in front of a receptive audience?
What's interesting is that Macron is trying to change his attitude after having really not gotten what he wanted in China. So I'm surprised. I'm curious to see if he will get anything done with the Netherlands, actually.
What do you mean by that?
Well, every time he did travel, he managed to more or less betray the Ukrainians, betray the other Europeans, somehow insult countries. When he went for Africa, he insulted more or less all of his hosts. And in China, he didn't insult Chinese, but he managed to embarrass the president of the European Union. So what everyone is waiting actually is the moment that he's going to have his own arrogant self and even trying to fix things, insult Dutch people. And so far I haven't seen it, so it's very good. But I'm very afraid it will happen.
Betray Ukrainians? I mean, since the war's begun, the French have more and more supported materially Kyiv.
Yeah, the French army, of course, yeah. But when you see how he's done with Putin, every time he says, I'm going to talk to Putin, it's going to go well. It didn't go well at all. And he went to China hoping that Xi Jinping would help the Europeans or the West against the Russians. It didn't happen at all. And many times he made reflections like it's time to negotiate or things like that. It's really not what the rest of France was waiting for him, and definitely not the rest of Europe.
The Netherlands, he's going to a nation that is a staunch NATO ally. Do France and the Netherlands see eye to eye when it comes to the current superpower showdowns?
Not at all. Traditionally, France is very reserved towards the United States, not necessarily against the United States, but because he still thinks of himself as a big power, which is not, by the way, whereas the Netherlands have little illusions, and America is more or less a Dutch colony, so they have no problem culturally to go along with the Americans, whereas France doesn't see America really as a colony, more as friends, and it's a bit complicated relationship. So on that point, Holland is way more Atlantist than France.
More Atlantist. It's also a big. It's Europe's #1 producer of those semiconductors that everyone was talking about with the current standoff over Taiwan. The Dutch have a big role to play in these superpower showdowns.
Yes, definitely. It was a side project of Philips that nobody took seriously, and now it happens that they're more or less in monopoly, and they're a super strategic position, and Americans do not want them to sell to China, which I totally understand. So on this point, Holland has become really, really a huge country as it comes to superconductors, definitely.
And finally, Emmanuel Macron, he's visiting the Kingdom of the Netherlands. There's going to be a dinner with the royals.
Yes, well, it's been a kingdom for 200 years, and France has de facto a king. You know how it goes to France. It's a republic, but we always elect a king. I don't think it will have problems with all these royalty things and the gold. Compared to France, Holland actually quite toned down, and even if it's a king, actually ceremony are way cooler and less golden than in France. It's not like Versailles. So I think Macron will be at ease on that, yeah.
All right, less monarchist than more monarchist than the King of the Netherlands. You're arguing, Laurent Chambon. Many thanks for speaking with us.